Well, good morning, everybody. I think we'll go ahead and get started. I know there are a few folks continuing to join, but we'll kick things off and welcome people as they enter. We're so glad that you're here today for our Count, Play, Explore Early Math Initiative Community of Practice number 6. This is our final COP for this phase of the initiative. And so again, we're grateful to all of you for being here today to share this time with us. We're also just very aware too of the kind of the culmination of a lot of work, and we want to recognize that today. We want to acknowledge the many, many efforts that all of you have put into this project and the ways in which you have shaped mathematics experiences for the professionals you work with and ultimately for the children that you serve in your communities. We're excited that we've had such an incredible presence across the state, from the southern parts of our state to the Central Valley to coastal areas to Northern California. Because we've all been engaged in this work together, we've had an incredible impact. And so many thanks to all of you for your efforts and for the ways in which you are continuing to support this work. Today, and the time that we have today is set aside for primarily a lot of reflection. And so as we go about our morning today, we'll take some time to think about how we've changed and how the impacts we've made in our communities have resulted in changes both for children and for adults and families and communities. So excited about the reflection opportunities today that we'll be engaging in. If you haven't yet, if you could please add your agency name to your Zoom window. The way to do that is to hover over your own window in the Zoom carousel and hover over the 3 dots that are in the upper right-hand corner. And when you click on those, you can scroll down to rename, and that gives you a chance to add to your name. And if you would put your agency name there as well, that would be super helpful. Also, as we kind of go forward, we're excited to have some breakout group time after our break. So at 10:10, our activity at reflection activity will involve us moving into breakout groups. And so if you would also during the breakout groups, if you'd be willing to put on your video camera, if that's possible for you, and to be prepared to engage in collaboration, both with the folks on your team and with other teams, that would be wonderful. Our learning activity at 9:10 will be sort of on more of an individual basis. And then after the break, there will be an opportunity for more of a collaborative team reflection and interaction with some of the other organizations that you've been meeting with in breakouts in our previous COPs as well. We are really excited today to be hearing from 3 organizations who are part of our group here, who have been implementing some just incredible things through CPE, through Count, Play, Explore. So we'll be hearing from those 3 this morning. Really grateful to them for preparing and sharing with our group some of the highlights from their implementation. And then we'll end our session today with a focus on sustainability. That really addresses some of the questions such as what's next or what comes after this, and how will you plan to sustain this work going forward? And what are some of the considerations that you might be thinking about as you do that work going forward? And so our colleagues from WestEd will be sharing a bit about that as well. And then some resource highlights and some final updates from Naomi and Matilda at the close of our session today. Just a reminder to please feel free to use the chat feature throughout our meeting today. If you have questions, if you have comments, feedback, or ideas, the chat is yours. It's a place where we can connect, so please feel free to use that. And there will be some opportunities too to share out. So if you feel comfortable to unmute your microphone and share out with the group, we want to allow some opportunities for that across the different session as well. Thanks to those of you who are offering a warm good morning in the chat, and good morning to all of you as well. And we're excited to be together today. So for our first kind of our kickoff today, learning activity, doing something a little bit different for a learning activity today to kind of get ourselves, get our gears going on more of an individual learning basis. Part of being a learner is to be reflective. And one of the ways that you've probably worked with adult learners in your community is to offer them opportunities to reflect on their own learning. And that's what we'll do now. We're going to kick things off with an opportunity for all of us to reflect on our own learning. So it's an activity of learning because reflection is a part of learning. It's a part of making sense of what we've been doing. It's a part of connecting to things that we've known in the past. In particular, there's some work by Carol Rogers, who she draws on work of John Dewey from the 1930s about reflection and what it means to reflect on our learning. And she highlights three things that can be helpful for us as we think about what we've learned as individuals and as we take some time to reflect on that. First, she says that reflective learning, or being a reflective practitioner, allows us to affirm the value of our experiences. So looking back, you can see experiences you've had through Count, Play, Explore, whether it's been through a one-day institute, whether it's been through some COP sessions, through meetings or evaluations, or through surveys or coaching conversations that you've had with Ames team, or coaching conversations that you've had with adults or practitioners or educators in your context. It gives us an opportunity to value those experiences. And then secondly, being reflective about our learning allows us to see things newly. It allows us to sort of see with fresh eyes. It allows us to appreciate kind of the newness of something that has occurred or happened. It also allows us to connect with others to kind of see how they've learned, how their learnings may either connect with or be slightly different than our own. And then finally, reflection is best facilitated in a community. Our community of practice has focused on ongoing reflection throughout the initiative. Our community gives us support as we engage in this process of inquiry, which is asking a lot of questions about our own learning. And it gives us support in doing that. So being reflective as a practitioner gives us the opportunity to do that. So today, as we kind of get ourselves going in the theme of reflection and thinking about where we've been and where we're headed, I want to engage everybody in a brief activity. This is an activity that you can use in your own contexts. It's a very simple activity. It's called the 3-2-1, and the 3, the 2, and the 1 can be customized to whatever session or activity or content that you're using. For us today as a group, I'd like you to think about on an individual level in your participation in CPE. 3 stands for 3 ways that CPE has impacted you as a learner. This is on an individual basis for you as a learner. Maybe learning something about yourself, maybe something about mathematics or early childhood mathematics or science. Maybe it's something about you as a learner in learning how to facilitate math professional development or how to coach. 3 ways that CPE has impacted you as a learner. Two stands for 2 skills you have developed or strengthened through your participation. And 1 is 1 area that you want to learn more about. And that could be through this initiative. It could be related to your own work as a professional learning facilitator. Could be more about children's math. Could be more about your own mathematics. Could be about your mindset and how you feel and think about math. So I want to allow a few minutes for everyone to take some time to generate your 3, 2, 1. You might just pull out a notepad. If you have a notepad and a pen to jot them down, you might pull up a note on your computer. If you have your phone out, you might open up a new note and jot these down. After a few minutes, I'd love to see some of these in the chat, and perhaps even if a few of you would be willing to share out some of your responses, that would be great. So we'll take just about 2 minutes or so for you to take some time to reflect. 3 ways CPE has impacted you as a learner, 2 skills you've developed, strengthened through your participation, and 1 area you want to learn more about. We'll come back in about 2 minutes or so. Okay, let's come back together, and either in the chat or even unmuting your microphone and sharing out. Let's just share out briefly, starting with 3 ways CPE has impacted you as a learner. And I posted this question in the chat. What are some ways CPE has impacted you as a learner? Thank you, Maria, for already getting us started on that. Please post one of your ideas in the chat or unmute your microphone and share out. How has this work, the collaboration, the content impacted you as a learner?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, thank you. I'm having difficulty over here. So with the CSN, we've been implementing different activities and we would, for example, we bit the wind tube, and then we gathered all information. A bunch of children came. I think it was like over 100 families came, and we told them about it. We gave them pamphlets on other activities you can do at home from the CPE, and we also gathered that information. So it was fun seeing firsthand how invested the children were in playing, but also learning and thinking of these ideas that they made up on their own, and then getting information. And some even gave me gave us their emails so we can send them even more activities. So it was great seeing those numbers. We were so busy, we didn't get like the exact numbers, but it was over 100 families that came to see us. So it was really nice to see that and be a part of that. Like, we really made a difference, and I'm just so happy to be a part of that.
Yeah. Thanks, Maria. That's wonderful. Thank you also to those of you posting in the chat about how this work has impacted you as a learner. I encourage everyone to review some of those responses in the chat. Anything else about ways that CPE has impacted you as a learner? Yeah, I love the comments about math not being as scary as it once was. Learning more about opportunities for math development, learned about the actual mathematics content or developmental stages, number sense, geometry, spatial thinking, measurement.
I would like to share something. Oh, I froze. Shoot. Oh, there we go. Hello?
Yes,
Okay,
hi,
I would like to share that something I've already known, but I make sure to share it to my providers and the teachers that I work with, is that math is everywhere. Math, you could go outside and use math. You could count leaves, you can count rocks. Math is just everywhere. So sharing that information with the people that I work with in the educational field, it's been wonderful. And they have like an aha moment, like, yes, math is everywhere. I could use it in the sandbox. I could use it outside in the playground. I could use it indoors. I could use it when we're eating breakfast. So that's been great. Just for me to share and to always remember that as well, that math is everywhere, and sharing it with the educators that I work with.
Thanks, Rocio. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
I would like to share something. For me, for our group, we did a lot of the same training. We repeated our training, and I was always the math mindset section. So I got really good at talking about that stuff. And so when I was researching and adding to that part of the training, one of the things I talked about is how, and I didn't realize how it had affected me until this, is that we kind of build a wall inside of ourselves and say, I'm just not good at math. And so even if we're capable of learning it, with this wall that we've said, no, we don't even let ourselves go into that place of math. We go, nope, or whatever. It's not just math, but it's everything. Like technology is another thing that people say that about. I can't learn it because of this wall that I've built in my own brain. And what it made me see, and what I really hope that our participants as well learned, is that we have built that wall, and we can shove that wall or walk around the other side of the wall, and we can learn anything. The whole, you can't teach old dogs new tricks is not true. And so for my own personal, I was that I'm not good at math person, and I no longer ever would say that. And so it really changed the way I learn everything. Like I can learn anything.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. That's a powerful message. Let's move to the next part of this reflection, which is the two skills that you have developed or strengthened through your participation in CPE. So this could be, again, a skill or a capacity that you have as a professional learning facilitator, or as an organizer, as an administrator, something that you've worked on with your team. What are some skills that you've developed or strengthened through this work? take some time to post your thoughts in the chat, or again, feel free to unmute your mic and share out with us. Love hearing from everybody.
I'd like to share.
Hmm.
So I actually began the CAME grant and CPE as a brand new coach. I had never coached before. I came like right out of teaching and started basically when all this started. So it was a cool experience to get to learn how to coach alongside using the coaching models that CPE was putting together. And so one skill that I really developed in my coaching was the ability to convince my coachees that they could be a math person, and in that same realm, like you could be a science person, you could be an English person. I mean, like the ideas that I got in how to convince people that they didn't have to limit themselves, I think wasn't just applicable to me for teaching early math, but then it carried on into my coaching practice in other areas too, which was very beneficial for me.
Yeah, thanks, Millie.
Hi, my name is Nye. I think the skill that I've learned is creating intentionality through math. People are very, very intentional about art. They're very intentional about physical activity for children, but because it's a fear for people, primarily, we do not create intentionality surrounding math and math experiences for children. We feel like it's something that has to be planned all the time, and we don't do a lot of free interaction with math. I was finding that with coaching, people are very, very guarded. Like, we're going to do this 4+1 situation and we're not going to expand. But allowing children to be naturally curious with math leads to all kinds of fun that we're just not having because we can't step out of our comfort zone. So creating estimation stations and creating actual math experiences that change every day that children look forward to is a skill that I've been trying to share with all of the providers in our community, because you really have to make plans to have materials that lead to children's free success and curiosity. So that's something that I really enjoy. And also creating math curiosity in kids of color is super important, and making sure that people are very intentional with that aspect. We're very, very quick to push socio-emotional skills and things like that, but math is a really important skill that kids of color are going to need to have in the world, because that's where all the jobs are that actually pay money that will, take care of families. So pushing math to children of color is super important, and having them see themselves in math experiences and in math environments.
Yeah, thank you, Nye.
Hi, yeah, I would like to say something. As a teacher, myself and Ruby over here, classroom teachers, we have never trained in this capacity before. So the whole process of planning, getting materials, putting it all together, implementing activities that they're going to enjoy, and actually just getting up in front of 50 people and presenting, which was a deep fear of mine as well, that has proven to be such a huge growth part of my life personally. And I find out I love math and I love training math. It was a great experience.
And on the opposite end of that, I've done hundreds of trainings. But what I learned from you guys when I came to Fresno and attended a training is about the details that you provided. Something as simple as having that bag and a folder and just being almost pampered. I was explaining to them before we started this morning about how I've always set up my trainings, with intentionality, but somebody said something in one of our sessions about it feels like a gift every time I come here. And I think what they meant by that was when they come in, and we were a bit crazy, like the spacing from the folder to the bag on the table of each person, the way the materials were displayed, that everything was very thought out. It was like the difference between going to a very basic restaurant, I won't name any, a very basic restaurant, and going to a fine dining restaurant. When you go to a fancy restaurant, the way you feel like this is a special moment, that's how they felt when they walked into their training. And I think that not only did that make them feel good and pampered and provide some self-care to people who are working with young children, but it also made them very excited to hear about what we're going to do at this training and to really be able to take it all in. So
thanks for sharing that. Such an important part of making of creating a human-centered environment that acknowledges the time and effort that people are bringing to that space, and yeah, also shows a bit of care for those people who spend a lot of time caring for others as well. Yeah. Let us shift now to our final part of our individual reflection, which is the one area you want to learn more about. So take a moment to post that in the chat, or again, feel free to unmute your microphone and share out. We love hearing from everybody. Mm-hmm. Yeah, our focus has been really mathematics focused through the initiative thus far, with some tangential work in science and also in some coding. There have been some maker spaces that popped up through this, some coding activities, and yeah, so branching into some of the STEAM areas would be of interest to folks. Wonderful. Well, I encourage you to keep reflecting. The thoughtful reflection that you've offered today is just, again, evidence of that learning that is still happening. And because learning is a process, it doesn't just sort of happen once and then ends. It's as we continue to reflect on it, we actually are able to pull things out of those experiences that are meaningful to us and that can be ongoing, meaningful opportunities. And sometimes we don't always know what we've learned until later on. So we can actually take time to reflect and think back and say, you know, I think I was learning this, or I was starting to learn this. And so I encourage you to continue to have reflection, to continue to engage in this with others. And our next little bit of reflection following our break will allow you to sort of transfer some of this into then organizational wide, and then collaborating with other organizations in an activity. So we'll have a bit more time for reflection following our break. Thank you so much for sharing out on this 3-2-1. I hope this is also an activity that you feel like you could use as a reflective opportunity for the educators you work with. You can create your own 3-2-1 and allow them to circulate in a room if they're in person and share their ideas with one another. But reflection in community is a very important support for our learning as we continue to learn together. Shifting gears just a little bit, we now have the opportunity to hear from some implementation and to really kind of hear more details about what have folks been doing and how has this work been going, and what are we learning together, what are some of the highlights, and what are people excited about going forward. So I've invited 3 organizations to share: Shasta County Office of Education, Central Valley Children's Services Network, CVCSN, and Community Child Care Council of Sonoma County, 4Cs, have graciously agreed to share out in a bit more detail about their work, what they've been doing. In particular, I've asked them to really focus their sharing around some of these questions that you see on the screen share right now. What did you implement? Who was your audience? What resources did you use? How did participants engage? learnings, success highlights, and what are you excited about going forward? And again, to our groups, feel free to share as much in these areas as you'd like. We're just glad to hear from you and excited to learn a little bit more about your implementation. So I think what we'll do is we'll start with Shasta County. Are you guys ready to share a bit? Awesome. All right. And if you have any visuals that you want to share as well, that's fine too.
She's going to share screen.
Shasta, are you guys ready to share screen? And I also see you're muted. That's okay, but just wanting to make sure everything's working tech-wise.
She's on my Mac, so it's a little different to manipulate. So she's
Oh, sure. Okay,
struggling. Sorry.
no problem.
Getting it, Ruth? Nope, I'm gonna have to go on there. Okay. Sorry. Uh-oh, lost him. You want to mute that one? No, we can do that one. That's fine. That's right. All right. Can you see us?
Let's see. Well, we are seeing a kind of a white screen share.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe not the correct window is
No,
shared.
definitely not.
No.
I'll tell you when I can see. Okay. Do you see what's wrong now?
Sorry.
Yeah, you're
That's all right. If you go to new share, then you'll just want to make sure you select the window that has wherever your slides are.
Screen, you're sharing our picture instead. It's just the entire screen. No, go to a window or a tab.
There we
Now,
are. Perfect.
There you go.
Got it?
Yep.
There we go.
Okay.
So everybody can see now and you can hear me?
Yes, perfectly. Thanks.
Okay, great.
Thank you for being patient.
Yes, sorry about that. So our title really, you'll understand later in this slideshow, but we are ready for math and they are too. So we did many meetings. Uh-oh. What'd you do, Ruth? Don't do that. Okay. There you go. All right, you want to switch slides? There we go. So here is our implementation. I will start by saying we were exhausted. We probably did more trainings than we wanted to, or we should have. We wanted to do them, but we were exhausted because we were doing 2 evenings a month of the series training. So we did 2 series, and each series had 3 sessions each. So they would come to 1 session every month for 3 months. And so that meant for us 6. And we also had, on top of that, we did SIP trainings for childcare providers in Shasta and Tehama County. So that was 2 additional. We did a teacher tool belt training at Shasta College, our local community college, an event. And then we also did a UPK workshop as well. So it was a lot of work because we didn't repeat. We always did math mindset except for the teacher tool belt one. We always did the math mindset as part of them, but then there were also activities behind each one, and we didn't want to repeat them in case people that were attending the series also came to sit or also came to UPK. So there was a lot of work behind that. No regrets, except I would have spaced them out a little bit more. Don't you guys agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were pretty tired. But we were excited and we loved it anyway. So let's keep going. So our incentives for our trainings, the participants could receive up to $700 each to attend if they attended. And this was, we only provided incentives for the series training. So only the participants of those knew they were getting any sort of an incentive. So they knew they were going to get $700. We thought that would be a great way to get their feet through our doors so that they would attend a math training. And then we gave them tools, lots and lots of tools. You can see they received all of these materials, and you can't even see the back side of some of this stuff. Incredible books. And then they also received dinner, which wasn't from this grant. I just want to say we had a different grant to use, but they received dinner before it started. And then we also provided them materials. So any activities we did, they could take those, they'd have the materials just like you guys did for us to take back and use with their programs right away. So we want them to just get started. And then we always tried to make it fun. And really you always want trainings to be fun, but when we attended your training, it was so fun, so hands-on, a lot of quick bits of knowledge and powerful learning, and then an activity that reinforced that. And we really followed that model all the way through every single time. So, and then also, I just want to say the materials that you see that we purchased, they all reflected something, the activity. So if we were talking about counting, they would have a counting material that we would purchase. If we were talking about positional words, they would get a positional words material on top of an activity to do. So, anybody have anything to add? Okay. So this was our first training. It was called Changing Your Math Mindset. As you can see, we went all out with the icosahedrons. You can't even see that there are like 6 or 7 of them in that room. We have the dowels. We created all the dowels for that. And they, of course, loved it. We only had one group that didn't love the icosahedron building activity, and that was the UPK group. That was the only group that didn't like it. But otherwise, it was a pretty popular thing. You can also see on the tables that we followed your model. You can see the bags and the folders and lots of activities. So here's just some of the things we did. Yes, please.
So our basic premise on the very first night, the one with the icosahedron and changing your math mindset, was perspective. We want to change your perspective on how you feel about math. So we came in, each of us came and sat at a table and read a book to our table. And they were each trainer had a different book, but the theme of the books were all coming back to perspective. So then after that, we talked about what do you think, that book was like, what do you feel about that? And they got it and they said, it's about perspective. So that was the entryway into how we started to introduce the idea that you can change your perspective on that.
And then can you go back one slide, Ruby? If you notice that on the title of this, the flyer that we sent out with all these trainings, it said changing your math mindset, but math was so small that you could barely see the word math. Mm-hmm. So everybody registered for the changing your mindset training. Nobody even really at first saw the word math. And so it was kind of funny that this was really going in. We knew a lot of people, their mindset might not be the most positive about math, and we kind of played on that a little bit for this one. Absolutely. And I think I'm glad you brought up that story reading, because it was definitely different. We didn't say a word. We sat at their tables to start the training and just started reading a book, and everybody's like, "What is happening over here?" And it was just a different kind of a mystical way to start. I think it was a lot of fun. Okay, keep going. So our second training was called Can You Read Math? Obviously, we used a lot of resources from you guys here in this section. We used a lot of the books that you guys suggested, and of course, as we were looking at them, and we were very selective. We went and watched them, read them on YouTube. So we sat and picked which ones we liked the best, If we're like, this one's not that great, we'd move on and pick a new one. But we found some other very wonderful books. And then of course we brought activities. So this is our gallery. You can see the gallery in some of these photos. And then with the gallery on the wall were, what are other things that you can do? Please write, as they were going through the gallery, other ideas you could do in your programs with these materials or with this book. And then they got all of that typed up and sent to them. So, and then you can just see some of the activities. One of my favorite, do you want to turn the page? In the bottom left-hand corner of this slide, you can see Ruby reading Baby Goes to Market with a basket on her head, and she had all the pieces, and she would place them in. It was the most captivating storytelling I've ever seen in my life. She did such an amazing job. That basket stayed on her head the whole time.
Yeah, it did.
And they all got to make this and all got the basket when they leave. And later on, I think you'll even see somebody in a provider reading this story to her kids with a basket on her head. And then, do you want to talk anything about your large motor stuff here? Are you good?
I think one thing too we focused on was trying to provide materials and activities that would hit different age ranges, so infant, toddler, preschool, and TK and school age.
And then this was the last in the series, Are You Ready for Math? Because they are, hence the title of our slideshow originally. And this is them just working on some of the activities. We really talked about the M5, as you can see up there on the screen in the middle shot. But again, in the back, we did another gallery walk where we put materials around, and they had a form that they walked and looked at each activity and talked about all the math concepts that they could see you could teach from the materials in the gallery that they would normally see in their programs already. And so that's what they're doing in the photos on the right. And then again, this is just some more of those activities. We really tried to, and then I don't know if you can see in the center, Michelle's holding up, we did, what did we call it? The something abacus, the hanging abacus. And they actually all made those. But if you look, there's beads with corresponding the amounts of each number attached that they all made and took as well. And those, again, were a very popular thing we did. And that was just part of the counting learning. So, of course, we did a whole section on counting, and that was Lindine's activity, and she blew it out of the park. That was one of my favorite presentations she did. And then the follow-up activity was creating the abacus.
And then what we did for the infant toddlers, we used different beads because they would need something bigger so that it wouldn't be as easy to put them in their mouth. So we did individualize for different grades. That's true. And then on the left-hand side, there's that mirror patterning. So what we had was, and it was interesting because everyone did it differently. Everyone interpreted it differently, but it was putting on the opposite side, there's patterns, there's a pattern drawn down the right-hand side, and they would duplicate that on the left-hand side and create the same pattern on the blank slate. So that was really interesting.
And they also had the mirrored cardstock available as well.
Mirrored cardstock was a huge hit.
So our audience, we provided training to everybody we could get our hands on, but college students, family child care providers, preschool teachers, infant toddler teachers, TK teachers, and administrators. So we had Head Start, we had private, everybody. It was a big variety, and we did cap our training size. We did have a waiting list. People are still emailing me, asking me if we're going to do another session because it had such, people were just talking about it, and they still are talking about it to this day. These are just some of the resources we used. It was so helpful to have. I kept having to go back, even though we had it in the drive. We used Naomi's email that had the attachment to the resources so many times to get to the resource pages, but we used them a lot in our preparation, and we go back and look when we were practicing, and even going back and watching the videos of the trainings that we attended to say, how did they talk about that? Those things were all so helpful. So helpful. The engagement and response from participants, almost every single person that started in the series attended all 3. I believe there was one person who missed one. There were a couple people who couldn't attend one session. And so I said, you have the option of attending that same session in the other series. And they made that happen. And at first, I'm sure it was for the stipend, but by the end and our final eval, we asked, if we do another series, if we do more math training, would you come even if there was no stipend? And there were only, what, 2 or 3 that said no or maybe.
Yeah.
Everybody else was like 100%. So I'm glad that they felt like it was worth their time.
And we also got thank you cards from everybody on the last night.
Yes,
I
that
mean,
was so nice.
individual handwritten thank you cards saying how much this meant to them, how much they appreciated it, and it was incredible.
Yeah, I've never received thank you cards for a training, but every table had a thank you card on it when we cleaned up, and we couldn't even believe it. So these are just things that we pulled off social media from people that have that attended, that they were posting about what we did, and I mean, honestly, that was pretty amazing to see math popping up all over Facebook as well, and here's some more as well. And then what we learned that we are all mathematicians,
Yeah.
not only all of the people out there, but all of us in this room here. We also built a connection between different provider types in our community that I don't think existed before. Family child care providers, sitting with teachers, sitting with TK teachers and administrators, talking and connecting like never before, where they really built friendships and still are keeping those up to this day. I talked a little bit about this earlier, about providing a higher quality learning environment and how it affected their feelings about the subject that they learned about. And then truly allowing the participants to explore and experiment with math. They aren't learning as much just sitting there listening to me talk as they are doing. And we know that to be true, but the impact of this really changed my thoughts even more than before. I knew it, but now I really believe it.
Yeah.
And then I loved what Teresa said about her math training was awesome again. I would say it's because they send us home with new books and toys, but really it's because they send us home with a new mindset and engage us in activities that essentially we want to go home and engage our children in. They include all ages, they work long hours to, I don't know what else she said. And so our success and highlights, our participants truly, I believe, gained confidence and that they changed their math mindsets. They 100%, I believe, and we talked about this after the very last training, we had like a dessert party. We all just collapsed into a chair and had a little sweet treats reflection time. And we talked about, imagine the impact that we just made, even though this was so exhausting. Imagine the impact we've just made in our community with all of these children. The outcomes in math are going to improve, and the success for them lifelong is changed because of all this hard work. That all makes it worth it. So I believe that we have definitely changed outcomes in our community. And I also think that it's made early educators look at math different. Every time I visit a family child care provider now, there is math like never before. And we just recently were reviewed and from the state. And what they said is usually math is a deficit in every program we go into. And for some reason, the programs, because they went to family child cares, are fetch-in programs. And they said, there's math everywhere, and that's so great to see. So I thought that I know that was a direct reflection of what we did here.
And then these pictures were taken, the top one, how do you feel about math, was before we started the trainings. As they were coming in, we asked them how they were feeling about it. And then at the bottom, it's how they felt after the first training and what they were thinking about math. And there was a huge change just from that one training.
So it's like entering the building and exiting the building.
Different perspective.
So what we're excited about, we're going to do an alumni training at the beginning of the school year, this in August or September, to just bring everybody back. It won't have a stipend attached, obviously, and we're going to ask them to also bring some new math activities that they've developed or that they've realized that they're doing in their programs and share, kind of like a science fair sort of a situation. So we will probably be providing them some materials, but they won't know that until they get here as a takeaway. But so we're excited about that. And we know that we've impacted families and children in our community. We also are excited to keep the momentum going by providing math throughout our community, and when the college has events or when there's events where there's training opportunities, we will be bringing this show. And we are also getting ready to do the family. We're going to do 2 family events here in our community around math, and we had to finish our series first before we could even really think about that. But before December, we're going to be doing 2 very large math events in our community. We are very excited to do that. And then we're hopeful that you guys will do something around science or STEAM. So we are just very excited about math here now in Shasta County. So thank you so
Thank you
much for the
guys.
opportunity. Yes, life-changing, truly life-changing.
Oh, thank you so much for that incredible report. What a wonderful impact in your community. And I also really get the sense too that, and I think all of us might agree, that this was a lot of hard work. And so just kudos to you all and to your team and to your persistence in really providing an incredible opportunity that, as you said, is impacting not only the educators, caregivers in your community, but ultimately young children who are experiencing math in more playful, more joyful, more everyday ways than they were before. So yeah, I echo the chat comments. Awesome and job well done. Congrats. And also, yeah, taking lots of notes, wonderful strategies and approaches that you used in your work as well. I'd like to take this next moment to shift to our next group, who will be sharing with us, Central Valley Children's Services Network. So the floor is yours if you guys are ready.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, Juan, we can hear you great.
Hi.
Thanks.
Morning. Good morning. My voice is a little weird because I don't know if I'm catching a bug or allergies, but I'll try my best to project. Let me pull up the PowerPoint. I don't know if I can tap the last presentation, but you guys see that? Yep, you guys don't see my notes, do you?
No, just your slideshow. Looks great.
Perfect. So thank you so much again for the opportunity. My name is Juan Ramirez. I am an ECE specialist at the Fetching Department at Central Valley Children's Services Network in Fresno County. My colleagues are also here, Guadalupe Peña. I want to acknowledge them because, as you said, Paul, this is not a one-person job. It takes a team, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of planning and it's just a lot of work. And I really want to acknowledge them. Guadalupe Peña, Erika Salas, Maria Cruz, Ruby Torres, Maria Gomez, and Maria Hernandez, and Gregoria Hernandez. These people made the project actually successful. And so with that, what we did, basically, I'm sharing just a summary of our CPE implementation at our agency. Want to talk about what it was already shared, what was implemented, who were our audience, the resources that we use, how participants engaged and responded, and what did we learn from this journey, right? And what are we looking forward to? So we really started with because we really wanted to know where people were at, family childcare providers, in terms of using and teaching math. And so we developed a survey, and that survey actually provided a lot of information. And based on the responses from that survey, we created the professional learning sessions. I agree with Shasta County folks. Math mindset was a big one, so we really needed to talk about math mindsets. So, and then we talked about another comment that was mentioned earlier, math is everywhere. We really, family childcare providers and teachers really do math every day on daily routines. So we really wanted to talk about, you know, making the connection when you do meals, when you go outside, when you count, when you jump, when you play. So we did our first PL session was titled Math Mindsets and Math is Everywhere. Then we also had Learning Through Play, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the last but not least is Build It. And this is when I tap into our experts, Ames Center. We're so lucky that we have them here in Fresno County. So thank you again, Paul and your team for the support that we received throughout this journey. In the last PL session, they got to build an icosahedron. They created shape viewfinder. They also played with the tangram puzzle. So it was really, really fun. Of course, we also offered one-on-one coaching throughout this journey. This is when we go to the family childcare providers and we actually implemented math activities with them, and then sit down and talk about and have a reflection about, you know, the activities. Again, thanks for to the support of the Ames Center, we were able to build actually 2 small wind tubes and 1 large one. And the large one is actually sitting in our lobby. As you can see, there's 2 little guys playing with it. And then we also attended 2 big events in Fresno County. One was held at the Fresno Chaffee Zoo, where I heard that close to 12,000 people went to this event. You know, of course, we didn't talk to all 12,000 people, but we were estimated that we talked to about 100 families that stopped at our tables and about 100 plus children that interacted with the wind tube. And so the spark was ignited, I think, and that was one of the best. That was one of the highlights that you will see later on in the presentation. And the only thing that is pending right now is it's a post survey. You know, I mentioned that we developed a survey before starting with the professional learning sessions. Now we want to send another survey, the same survey, to gauge and to measure, right, to see whether that need was actually met or not, right? But I'm positively, I'm sure that we met that need. So who were our audience? Our audience were family childcare providers participating in the Fetch-In program. The experience, as many of you know, those of you that work with family childcare providers, the working experience and education levels varied. You know, from here in this group, we had from 1 year, you know, barely new family childcare providers, to 3 years to 20 plus years of experience. So, and we also had 10, I believe 10 center-based teachers participating in our CPE professional learning sessions. 42 were Spanish-speaking providers, and then 16 were English-speaking providers, and then again, 10 were center-based teachers. And this, we took the picture in May when we had one of our PLs. The resources that we use, of course, I don't want to go through each of them, but I just want to mention a few. We use a lot of the CPE website stuff. In fact, I reach out to Naomi and ask for translations of some of the handouts that we actually pass out to parents at one of those events at the Chaffee Zoo. We used a lot of the resources created from phase 1, thanks to whoever, Naomi, you shared that. We, again, just like the previous group shared, just to find out the right resource, the right, PowerPoint, and making sure that, things were making sense when we were presenting the material and when we were doing the professional learning sessions. Again, the support from the AIM Center was instrumental. Steve, kudos to you. We were able to build that large wind tube, and as a result, children and families are being impacted by it. So thank you again for that. Keep moving. One of the, as you know, one of the components of this project was to involve parents in math learning so they can, in turn, teach their children, right? So we attended, as I mentioned, the Festival de los Niños at the Fresno Chaffee Zoo, and also another event called the Feria de Salud or Health Fair at one of our main malls here in Fresno. And so we love this one, and that's why I'm sharing it as a highlight, because was an opportunity for us to connect with the families, and really this is where we provided a survey for them. We asked them to complete that survey. How did they feel about doing math with their children? And so the information gathered, it was really, really well. And as Maria mentioned earlier too, we collected the emails, so we send them information to the CPE website so they can continue to be involved with it. The feedback that we received throughout was positive through evaluations, verbal feedback. It was great. Another highlight that I will say was the attendance. Every PL that we offer, the attendance was almost 100%, meaning that the same group continued to attend. Oh, and I wanted to share this. This is an email from one of our participants. Of course, she's a Spanish-speaking participant. Her name is Eva. And this is the day that we took that picture, as I shared just a little while ago. But Ruby, one of our ECE specialists, she's also here. She sent her the picture, and this is how the provider responded. Right? This is in Spanish, so I'm gonna do my best to translate what she said. She said, "Thank you, Ruby. The photo is beautiful. I had a great time that day. The truth is, I had no idea about all the surprises they had for us. I even cried with joy when I came to my home. I know that you guys were the ones who made an effort to make everything happen. It turned out so well. Thank you so much. God bless your work and team. Always take care of you. Thank you." And so, what do you do when you give feedback like that, right? It's just, it validates that, as you mentioned, Paul, the work that we do, it really is making an impact in people's lives. I don't know. I want to make a pause here. I don't know if anybody from my team, Ruby, Guadalupe, Maria, Maria Gomez, Maria Cruz, have any comments? Want to add anything else to what I'm shared so far?
I just wanted to add that we did receive a lot of thankful emails that they were thanking us, and when we went to go implement activities at their homes, and they were really grateful. And I'm really grateful, Paul. Thank you for allowing us to do this. It really made an impact, and I keep saying it over and over. I love coming to work, and because that's really fulfilling, making a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Anybody else before I move forward? All right, so I'll move forward. And again, I think I shared this already, how participants engaged and responded mainly was through hands-on activities, as you can see here in the pictures, which is really what, family childcare providers is what they really need, hands-on activities that they can go back into the programs and then apply the learned concepts. So there was a lot of collaboration, as you can see also in the pictures, a lot of teamwork. The picture of the ladies inside the large, I guess, icosahedron it was from our last PL, which just took place last Saturday. It was taken after they built it. In the bottom left picture, they are making patterns by weaving paper. And then the English-speaking providers and teachers were building a small icosahedron on the upper left pictures too. Very engaged, very engaged. More pictures about that. The pictures in the middle, the picture in the middle, the lady was doing the tangram puzzle, and actually she interrupted me. She's like, she called me maestro, teacher. I want you to see that I was able to build this puzzle, you know. And so it was, you know, it's little things like that. It just makes you, again, validate that the work that we do is truly not only meeting the needs, but making an impact, in this case, in family childcare providers' lives. And then we use, throughout each of the PLs that we presented, we use reflection, right? These were handouts that were prompted with questions to really help participants connect the dots, right? How do I make it work? How do I modify this activity so I can include infants and toddlers, or vice versa? How do I include school-age children? Because family childcare providers, they provide services for mixed ages, right? And so they have to deal with this dilemma. How do I engage parents that I work with? So we, throughout each of the PLs, this was a very important step, the pause to reflect. And then, as I mentioned earlier too, we asked participants to complete evaluations, and for the most part, almost 100%, the feedback was really, really good. Now that we planted the seed, you know, we look forward to really seeing how this all plays out in the coming months, in the coming years. We will continue to conduct one-on-one coaching sessions, and that's where we will see, you know, the fruits of this CPE project. So with that, I'm done. I'm wondering if anybody have any questions, or Paul, you can take it away. Okay.
Thank you so much, Juan, and the team. Great work. And again, too, just thinking, Juan, about the comment that you shared from one of your participants, or the email, I think is a good reminder to all of us that this work impacts people not only on a professional level, but it impacts them on a personal level. And I think, Shasta, your work as well speaks to that when people feel empowered and supported and encouraged to do this really good work, and they know they have a community supporting them in that, it makes it doable. And again, I think your presentation shows that this is very hard work, and there's a lot that went into it. Just looking at all the resources that you used, and the many sessions, and the ways that you even got survey input to sort of help form the content of your sessions. Lots and lots of work. So again, thanks so much for that work, and also thank you for the extra work of putting together such a great presentation to share with us as well. We have one final group to share, and then following that, we'll take a brief break. So we'll hear next from 4Cs, and I'm excited to hear about your implementation.
Thank you, Paul. Hi, I'm Jerry Layton. I am from 4Cs in Sonoma County. I am the Resource and Referral Assistant Director for Provider Services, and our team consists of several of our Quality Counts coaches, as well as a strong partnership we have with our local First 5 Quality Counts program in Sonoma County too. So I just like to go ahead and have my team introduce themselves and just share what their role is in our agency. So chime in, ladies. I think they're all here.
I can go. My name is Olivia Vasquez, and I'm an early learning coach at Sonoma Four Cs.
My name is Corey Pabros, and I'm also an early learning coach at Four Cs. I'm also a trainer.
Hi, my name is Marta Gomez. I'm a coach too at Four Cs and a trainer too.
Great. Well, I didn't have a wonderful PowerPoint presentation like everybody else. We're just going to share some resources and some pictures that we took during our sessions, but just going to begin with sharing with you. I'll go ahead and put on my share screen. I have that in front of me here, so give me 1 second. Just to let you know that we had planned 3 training sessions during this fiscal year, and we conducted all 3, but we actually did 6 in total because all of our training sessions are done in English as well as Spanish. So we held them together. English and Spanish were going on simultaneously as we were presenting our trainings. And our topic this year was math for all ages, because we really wanted to emphasize how important math is, not only at a preschool level, but also at a infant and toddler level. Our local area is really focusing on infant and toddler care and supporting infant and toddler care as well too. So we did present a total of 6 sessions. We had a total of 122 participants that participated in those 6 sessions, and they comprised of family childcare homes and childcare center staff. We were fortunate because of our partnership with First 5 Quality Accounts Sonoma, that not only the money and the resources and stipends we were able to give providers from this grant, they also provided resources and funding to support some additional activity, which enhanced our coaching component, which we thought was really great. So anyone could participate in these trainings countywide. And then we invited about 20 of our quality accounts providers who attended all 3 sessions to receive an additional $100 stipend if they received coaching and developed what we call a quality improvement plan. And we had about 15 providers who did participate in that component, and that was supported by First 5 of Sonoma. So we really appreciate their partnership in this. So the 3 sessions we held, one was called Math Foundations, and we focused in on classifying, sorting, and patterning. And that really focused in on those early California early math foundations and framework. And so that was the first session that we held. The second session was our math foundations, as we said, for infants and toddlers. So we really dug into math for those infants and toddlers and supported it through those early foundations and frameworks for infants and toddlers. And then the very last session we conducted was called Discovering Math in Books, and using those resources that are available that you shared with us about math, books, and activities. We really took that to heart, and we presented the whole session was pretty much taking a book, introducing an activity, and having the providers actually make the materials and resources they need to take home with them to do these things. So they walked away with about, I believe it was around 7 books and 7 activities that they could take back to their environment and actually implement into their environment. So those were our 3 sessions that we did. And then I'm going to go ahead and share some photos from those sessions. And I'm going to have my coaches, let me make sure, I think I might have to share in a different way. Give me 1 second. Whoops, where am I? So I have to open my photos. So I'm going to just have each of my staff members, they share these pictures with me, and they'll share what these were about, and which I believe this is inside our first event for the preschool foundations and frameworks. So I'm going to let the coaches just chime in. So if this is your picture, coach, go right ahead.
Okay, so this is one of my providers' pictures, and she used the material that she got in the first training, which is classifying and sorting, and this is a sorting mat in her family childcare home, when we did this first training, we kind of had them talk about their past experiences with math, so that way we can shift their perspectives into using math in their family childcare home or center and being comfortable sharing the math terminology with the children in their daycare. It was just amazing to kind of see their math journey and how it transformed and how confident they became in applying all that they learned into their setting, home setting or center setting. And here is a child in her family childcare home who is like really enjoying the sorting mat. And I think every time I went to see her, he had that sorting mat out.
Thank you, Olive. I think this is a component of yours as
Yes.
well.
He was able to just use all the materials and sort them in different ways and classifying them, and by color or by type of animal. He was really into it.
Thank you.
In one of our professional learning trainings, we had the participants work in small groups and teach the other participants at the training. So this one was classification. So we gave them the opportunity to do a poster or do a skit. This group did a poster, and they cut out different things from magazines that they could use in their center or at their home childcare to do classification, sorting. It was really cool to see them work together, and they were very proud to present and teach about these topics that we had introduced to them.
I think this was part of the presentation, right, Corey?
Yep. I think this one was Martha's. Martha, do you want to share anything on that one?
Yeah, in this presentation, we were talking about the frameworks for the first class was, and they have to find information for the books depending of the age of the child, how they can do activities about according to the age, and they work in a groups, and then we provide some materials, and they were using those materials and using at the moment. And it was so fun because they were working as a team and looking for looking the materials that they can use. So those ideas they can take to their care. So most of them were family childcare providers and some teachers too.
This was our kind of our make and take. It was the book one, and books and songs. So this was a song, 5 Brown Buns, and they got to actually make the 5 brown buns and take them back to their family childcare or their center to have those materials to do that during circle time. They loved it. This was one on our evaluations that they were like, loved making it, and they were excited to do a song in Spanish and English. So like Jerry said, we did these trainings in Spanish and English, and the songs we provided and the books we provided were in Spanish and English too.
Again, many, oops. I'm sorry. Many of the trainings were filled with resources and information and items that they can take back and literally use in their environments. So this was just one of the samples of bags of the ones that were filled with the books. Again, they went away with about 7 books and 7 activities after this activity was done. And then we have one last thing to share here. Let me see if I can find it. I think I have it. Give me 1 second, please. Whoops. Where did it go? One more exciting thing that we have to share here. Oh. Okay. Hold on a second. I just can't seem to find it in that area.
It was so interesting when we were doing the first training. We asked them how they feel about math, and we separate who feel good, who feel and who feel bad. And it was funny because we have like 4 participants that they feel good in math. And yeah, and was very interesting. And they explain why they feel good, why they feel and why they feel bad. So that's a lot of interaction with the providers.
Okay, I'll go ahead and Martha, you can go ahead and explain this one.
Yeah, Olive suggests the book 1, 2, 3 Salsa. So we decided to do that, read that book with the providers, and then we put some salsa. So if you want to see it, oh, we don't have sounds, but they were so excited.
Oops.
And it was kind of hard to find a song that to have a
Sorry, everyone, upside down.
positive words, but it was so funny to do that.
Sorry, our screen flipped. But there's just kind of give you an idea. There are some of the activities and some of the sessions that we had. Again, we got a lot of positive response back from the providers. We did do a post evaluation, and those came back with just really excited about taking this information and resources back with them into their environments. Again, we continue to get that support from our local First Five community that helped us to promote it into actually see it. The coaches went in, helped them implement it, followed through with those quality improvement plans. And then they also went away with many of the resources we learned from CAMI, and we put together a Padlet. And after each training, we uploaded all of the resources, all of the handouts, and everything they received, and then some additional sites to websites and things like that. So they all received that link to the Padlet to be able to tap into those resources. And I think our next steps that we'd like to see, we're actually in the process of our next steps, we're going to be presenting the book learning session in the city of Sonoma. We had a request from a center who has a very large staff, so we'll be doing it for them as well as inviting other Sonoma County providers to participate. So that's our plan. We want to continue. We also want to offer more of the family engagement component when it comes to math. So that's our goal for this coming fiscal year, if we can do that. So that's us in a nutshell.
Thank you, Jerry and team, for sharing about your implementation. So much inspiration in your work, and even in that last clip, love just seeing that whole body interaction, the book with the salsa, and just so many wonderful connections. And I'm sure that you had more than you had probably more people saying that they felt pretty good about math following that. And we know this is a journey. And so just every opportunity to help shift mindsets about what mathematics is, who participates in it, what that participation looks like, where we can find opportunities to learn and do mathematics in everyday environments. All of that is such valuable work, and it's long-term work as well. So we're going to take some time now for a break. So we'll take a 10-minute break, and then following the break, we're going to come back together into breakout groups and just allow for a bit more of a creative reflection for everybody. And so more instructions on that following our break. But let's take 10 minutes now. We'll see you back in. And we're going to move into our to the next part of our morning. And so as you're coming back, I'll provide just a few instructions about the next portion of what we'll be doing together. For this next portion, we'll be engaging together in some group reflection. And if you remembered the breakout groups that we've had in the past, we're going to be going into those again. We'll go into 8 different breakout groups in just a moment. Before we do, I'll explain just a little bit about what we're planning on doing. For this next portion, we are going to be focusing our conversations and breakout groups around 3 questions, sort of big questions that allow you and in your organization, along with some of the other organizations here, to think about what are you celebrating? What kinds of things are you just really celebrating, looking back over your implementation and over the initiative? So this could be a wonderful moment. It could be a highlight. It could be maybe you're celebrating that you've completed some really hard work. Maybe you're celebrating some of the successes and things that you guys have found as an organization. The second question is, what did you learn about your team or organization through the initiative? There are a lot of impacts in your own organization through the ways you've collaborated, maybe some new skills you've developed as a team, or your organization. What have you learned about your team or your organization? And the third is, what advice would you give to future participants in Count, Play, Explore? We're going to organize our reflections in a Jamboard. And if you've never heard of a Jamboard, don't get too used to it because it's a Google product which is going away in October. But it's a great tool that allows for a collaborative reflection. And there are other tools that do the same thing that we'll talk about in another time. But for today, we'll be using a Google Jamboard. So I'm going to just kind of show you what the Jamboard will look like. Your team, your breakout group will have a Jamboard page that looks like this. And you can see there's a section for what are you celebrating? And that could be a word, it could be a photo. The Jamboard has some tools on the side that allow you all to collaborate on it and add things to this graphic organizer. What advice would you give to future participants in CPE? The trick here is your advice has to start with count, play, and explore. So your advice has to kind of follow those three stems. So fill in the blank after that for some advice. And the third, what did you learn about your organization or your team through this work? There are some spots here for ideas to be added. This Jamboard page or this graphic organizer can be completed however your group decides. You can all pitch in and add things to it. You can work together to try to come up with collaborative things that you want to add. Here is a sample of how you might get started. I worked a bit on this one, and what am I celebrating? I'm celebrating that teachers learned how to play. I don't think there's enough play in our world, and particularly in education, there isn't always opportunity for teachers to play. And that's a celebration for me. And I even put a picture here of children playing in one of our light and shadow exhibits. What did we learn about organization through participating in this? We're learning how to facilitate math PLs with more engagement. Also learning that collaboration makes everything better. You can see just stylistically that I've added some of these as a text, and I even made a little bubble here and put some text inside of it. And then finally, what advice would you give? So this is a chance for you to be fun and creative. For count, I thought we could count on lots of laughter, because when we play together, when we learn together in ways that feel safe and comfortable, that allows for different emotional responses. And one of those is a laughter. And then on the created by, you can put there who is in your group and who helped to create your presentation here. And so this is the Jamboard. There's a variety of different tools and sticky notes and things. You'll have a facilitator in your group who can assist with that and who will kind of help guide you in your breakout group to complete your collaborative reflection. The breakout groups will be as such, and if you are in breakout groups 1 to 4, you will be on a Jamboard. In the link I've just placed in the chat, you'll be in the Jamboard groups for 1 to 4. If you are breakout group 5 through 8, you'll be in the Jamboard for groups 5 to 8. And each Jamboard has a series of slides on it. They're all the same, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So You'll just be working on the one that corresponds to your breakout group number. So if you're group number 1, you can work on Jamboard 1. If you're group 2, you can work on Jamboard 2. And your facilitators will help you get to the right spot and make sure that you're all there. After which you can start collaborating and having some conversations and completing your reflection. And then following that, we'll come back together and we'll take some time to just sort of peruse through the various groups, Jamboards, and some of the highlights from your collaborative reflection. So with that, we're going to go ahead and open up these breakout rooms, and we'll have about 20 minutes or so till just a little bit after 11 or so, and then we'll come back together. So happy reflecting together in your collaborative groups. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for taking some time to reflect with your colleagues and with others in breakout groups around what you're celebrating, what lessons have been learned, and what you've learned about your team, and also what kind of advice you would give to others. It's fun to see just a variety of reflections, and I'll take just a moment to kind of highlight a few things here that I think are just really, really wonderful. Great to see here that we've got celebration of manipulative use in P3. And we've got just this idea that math is integrated into other aspects or other subjects. Strong collaborators. Thank you, Alameda Modoc, for your collaboration here. Breakout group 2, Butte, Shasta, San Mateo, Kern, just thanks for your feedback. Love hear your idea or your advice to be sure to stay playful, curious, and open, which is just such an important disposition, such an important way of being. Also appreciate your learnings about the shared expertise and the knowledge that we have across a variety of different positions and titles. It's an important team learning as you continue to work together toward this kind of work. I think that was group 5 and 6. So here we are, breakout group 1, which was Alisal Dinuba, Los Angeles. Thanks for your feedback and collaboration here. Some great pictures. Love to see that that you were able to open up possibilities to explore what students are capable of. We open up spaces for them to experiment and explore. And you'll have been excited by what you're seeing there, which is just really wonderful. Breakout group 2, Kim and Sarah, Fresno Unified and Galt. Just great to see your advice here. Count on lots of amazing, easy to use resources. Play is in everything you do, play is everywhere, and explore wonderings and questions early on. Really appreciate that reflection. Thanks to group 3. Appreciate here, have lots of patience. It seems to be also an important aspect of this work, pausing to reflect as just being essential, and teamwork makes the dream work. We all have amazing strengths that help us succeed. An important message about collaboration there. And group 4, Sonoma, 4Cs, and EPU. Just the coming together, working hard, allowing participants time to play in your trainings. And I think that's just a crucial aspect of this work going forward. And then, yes, group 5, Alameda Modoc, and group 6. Thanks so much. And breakout group 7, Humboldt, Merced, Riverside. such a great impact, celebrating that we impacted so many educators. We all have a passion for math and play. Varied strengths and areas come together. Like this comment here, PL by teachers for teachers is very well received and highly effective. Wonderful. And then finally, our group 8, PCOE, Placer, SCCOE, SLO County Office of Ed. Thanks to all of you for your reflection here. Count on being challenged by playful math activities, learning while you teach and coach. Play with different concepts and ideas of what math could be, and good advice to explore the materials before the training. So our playing with the materials and the ideas is critical to the success of our professional development that we offer. So with that, I just want to say again a final thank you to all of you for your collaborative reflections. We will make sure we download all of these and then share them out with everybody following our session today, so that you can have access to these and use them as a kind of a collaborative summary of the important work that we've done together. Now I want to turn it over to our colleagues from West Ed, who will be talking a bit about sustainability, kind of addressing some of that thinking ahead and what do we mean by sustainability and moving forward. So I'll turn it over to West Ed.
Thanks so much, Paul. So as you mentioned, I'm here to talk to you a little bit about what's next. We have all this great information and we've done all this great work, but what are we thinking about moving forward? I know a number of you are participating in the family and community engagement piece of this work, but we really want to also just talk about what are we doing with our educators that have already dug deep into this work, and how do we support them in their continued efforts to expand their learning in math and science. So what do we mean by sustainability? Just so we're on the same page. We're talking about your continued efforts to promote early math and STEAM beyond the grant period. And one way to do this is actually what we've been doing all this whole time during the COP, is really just to reflect and to think about what's worked well, what hasn't worked as well, and what do you want to leave behind. So we have some questions here on the slide to think about your experience throughout this past year, and thinking about what would be your next steps in continuing to support early math in your agency. I saw a number of people in the chat when we started to talk about in the warm-up what people were thinking about, and they were already thinking about STEAM, which is where we're headed. So it's a great idea to think about. You guys are already experts in early math. How do you expand that to science and technology and art? So you can already use all those things that you've learned, all the tools that you've learned, and being able to apply them to other areas that are very similar to early math. And here are some considerations. We know that all agencies are quite different and have different things that you might consider when thinking about sustainability of this work. So we only have a few ideas here, but again, welcome other discussions, other conversations, other questions that you may be thinking about. And the first one that came to mind when we were talking about sustainability within our team is to continuing to strengthen the capacity of educators. We know that they've learned a whole bunch from this initiative, either this phase 1 or this phase 2. And we want, again, to continue to think about the progress that educators have made over this past year. How do we continue to build and support these educators as they use these materials and as they expand, and maybe in the new school year, they have new kids? How do we continue to foster their growth? One idea is to continue just like what we're doing right now in a community of practice, to bring educators together to talk about, again, what's worked well and other things that they can try, to share ideas. Communities of practice are often great ways for educators to not feel like they're alone in their setting, that they have opportunities to connect with others, make connections, and share ideas. And then as you think about this, what additional supports might they need in early math and STEAM? So continuing to think about how can you venture into a new area. Maybe you want to explore coding, or maybe you want to explore something that's more in the science realm. So thinking again, what has worked well and what can I continue to bring forward that might be more geared towards the STEAM aspect. And we've talked a lot about this today, but the fostering the use of the CPE resources. So these resources are for you all. We didn't just make these resources just for this initiative, just for this point in time. We really want people to share these resources for professional learning, for coaching, and the resources that we've created for the online suites. And there's a bunch of videos that can be shown, again, in professional learning or coaching, or even just to explore your own learning. And also we've created a number of handouts that can be given to educators. So this is an opportunity to not just, use these resources for this period of time, but to continue to use them whenever someone's like, hey, I want to explore this area of math. You can always give your educators these handouts that they can take and use right away. And then there's fostering this systems approach. So we know how important leadership is in sustaining this work. So we encourage you to think about continuing to work with your agency's leadership to recognize the importance of early math and science in your agency and to champion it. So what might you do we are celebrating all of this great work now. How might you share this with your leadership so that they can recognize all the great work that you've been doing and all the great work of your agency, so that they can begin to see, oh, wow, this is something that we shouldn't just do for the length of an initiative, but this is something that needs to be integrated and woven into all of our daily practices and routines. And having leadership on board, as you all know, is really helpful in being able to foster this idea, again, that math is for everyone and that math is fun. And we want leadership from your agencies to be involved in this idea too, so that when they walk into classrooms or family childcare homes or wherever the setting may be, they understand the importance of what you're doing. And last but not least is thinking about funding, new and existing funding opportunities. I've been in a number of input sessions, and I know this is top of mind for a number of you, as you're always thinking about how am I going to, get together the funds that I need in order to be able to put on a professional learning that's high quality and that's engaging. And all of this takes not only time, but funding. And I've heard a number of agencies that have really been creative in using funds from other initiatives, combining math with reading, other reading initiatives, or combining math and social emotional adventures to really be able to use funds, not just from this initiative, but from others or from other agencies in your community that are working alongside you. So this is a great opportunity to just revisit that and think about what are other funds that I can tap into to be able to continue this work. And with that, I'm going to say congratulations. You guys are rock stars. This has been an honor to just be able to see your work today and to be able to see all the amazing work that's yet to come. And I think I speak for our team when I say how excited we are to see what's coming next. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Alexa. Appreciate the focus on sustainability and moving forward with some real key considerations for us to think about. I'll turn it over next to Naomi, who will be sharing a bit more about resources.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to share a little bit, and then also Sophie will jump on and share a little bit more about the web-based suites. So I just wanted to highlight a few of our live websites right now. As many of you know, we are now going by Count, Play, Explore. And so that's where you can find a lot of our great resources, especially our family resources, is at countplayexplore.org. So this is the site. This site has all of the I'm Ready videos, which are those really fun, short family-centered videos that can be used in a lot of different ways. Additionally, this site has all of the Discovering the Math book guides and the related activities. And so those can both be found under these tabs. And then the next site is our ece.fcoe.org site, which houses one of our just Account Play Explore informational page, along with some of resources that were created during phase 1 of our work and will be highlighted on the web-based suites that Sophie will talk about in just a second. But this is where you can find those research briefs that we've incorporated in a lot of our work, and then some additional resources like the Count Play Explore issues, which those who are participating in the family engagement work know those are handouts for families. And then moving over, additionally on this site is where that temporary web page exists for the online suites. And so this will be live and will be updated until the finalized real web-based suites website is published. And so as you all know, if you scroll down, you can access the different resources down here, and each of them have their individual pages and links for all the resources found. I will add all of these pages into the chat so you have them, and then also follow up with an email. Just wanted to remind everywhere that all these resources are still available online and available for you to access beyond today. Okay, so I'll pass it over to Sophie to talk about the web-based suites.
Great. Yes, so Naomi just highlighted some existing resources that you're able to use. And of course, with the online suites, the website that Naomi shared is what we're calling a temporary website. It won't last forever, but that's because we're developing a sort of more formal website, and we're in the process of that at this moment. And I know a few of you have taken part in some user testing for us around that website, which we really appreciate. So I just wanted to give you all a sneak peek of sort of what this website will be looking like in the future. It's definitely not finalized yet, but just so you have a sense of like what to look forward to as this develops. So I'll quickly share my screen as well. And you'll probably notice that some of the resources you're already using are going to be housed here. And so, this is what, our current plan is for the homepage of this website. So this is really trying to focus on those early childhood resources, those online suites. The resources here won't just be focusing on early math, they will have a broader focus on early STEAM. And so when you scroll down, there's 2 types of suites that you can explore, these self-study modules. We're still working on some of the naming conventions, but you'll recognize here, this is where Mindsets About Math comes in. We're also working on coaching and training. So suites for your own development as a facilitator to learn about how you might support educators, caregivers in these topics. So these suites are really meant for your own learning. They're kind of like self-paced suites where you sort of get bite-sized pieces of information and can scroll through. And then the other suites that you're familiar with from the temporary web page are these sort of training toolkits. And we've got a number of different topics covered here, but I'll just expand this one to show you. You're already familiar with the geometry and spatial thinking suite that's present on the temporary web page. So that will be moved here once this website is ready. But you can see there's many other topics that are still coming. Numbering, counting, operations and algebraic thinking, measurement and data. And you're of course familiar with the early math approach suite as well. So I just wanted to highlight here that this is where all our work is leading towards, but highlighting that we won't just be focusing on math in the future, we will be expanding our work towards STEAM. So under these other buckets of suites here, we'll have some exciting things in the near future. So thank you. Passing it back to Paul and Naomi.
Thank you, Sophie.
Thanks, Sophie. And again, just encouraging everybody to dive in and take advantage of so many wonderful resources for our own learning and then also for our work with educators. I am going to pass it back to Naomi and Matilda for kind of some final words, for some closing. On behalf of the Ames team, I want to thank everybody for being here today and for contributing to such a wonderful collaborative reflection, and also to all of the efforts throughout your implementation in the initiative. It's been wonderful to partner with all of you. So Naomi, Matilda, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. I'll go ahead and kick it off, and then I'll pass to Naomi. For those of you that I believe I know many of you, but for those of you that I haven't had the pleasure to meet, I'm Dr. Matilda Sori, and I'm Senior Director of the Early Care and Education Department of the Office of the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. And it's been an incredible 2 years of partnership. And for many of you, it's been an amazing 5 years of partnership, since our original launch in the summer of 2019. I know some of you were a part of that launch at the Ames Center, and all of the great trainings for the in-person initiative. And so just really thankful to be able to partner with all of you. I wanted just to kind of give it, I know I recognize it's 11:25, so I'm going to keep it short. I have some talking points, but I'm going to try to cut it because I know you're probably wanting to get to lunch or to your next appointment. And those of you that know me know I'm a stickler about keeping to the schedule, trying my best to. But, during these past 2 years, we've participated in community of practices, webinars, coaching sessions, working groups, collaborations with other agencies, provided invaluable feedback on Count Play Explore resources, which Sophie and Naomi shared, that ultimate kind of web-based suites that are being designed, which we're really excited about. It'll be a game changer for the field of early learning across the state. We've also highlighted the importance of play and how math explorations could happen in everyday activities and routines. That's really been the paramount of what Count Play Explore is all about. You've built your capacity. We've all together, all of us, have built our capacity to train and coach educators on early math and how they could support our youngest learners. Collectively, and Naomi was able to run these numbers via our WestEd partners. Thank you, WestEd, for serving as our awesome, not just thought partners, but our wonderful independent evaluators. They're collecting all of these data. Collectively, you've delivered over 206 hours of professional learning, 330 hours of coaching, serving over 800 sites across the state, and over 2,000 educators serving children birth to 3rd grade. I mean, let's just give ourselves a hand just for all of the great work that's being done, and drilling down to the child. We're not talking about the child, but just imagine the impact on the children that are being served by those educators, which is really exciting. While providing professional development and coaching to others, you've helped us test and pilot all of the great resources so that when we release them, we know that they could be used in a variety of different settings across our mixed delivery system and early learning. Our collaborative work together ultimately impacts math achievement, right? That's really what it's all about. But more importantly, help our early learning workforce, families and community members, and the children of our state to find joy in math and learning mathematics, right? We talked about, I know when we were launching this, just that math monster and being fearful of math, even as adults, and how we could build our confidence around math so that our children will in turn build their confidence and experience joy when learning math. So I'm going to pass to Naomi, and she's going to share a little bit about future opportunities.
Thank you, Matilda. So as the initiative transitions to Count Play Explore, formerly the California Early Math Initiative, we are excited to expand to content areas of early science and computer science. So our expanded focus will really look at the, learning across the curriculum. So we really want to uplift how educators and families can support children's early math and science explorations in everyday interactions, activities, and routines. As the coming months, go on, be on the lookout for additional opportunities to partner with Count Play Explore, including accessing the many amazing resources for facilitators, coaches, and families. As Sophie and I spotlighted very quickly, these resources are going to be housed on some of these different Count Play Explore websites. So we'll send those out in emails and let you know when the web-based suites are live. Additionally, we will hold early math symposiums and forums still, which we will always invite you to. These are our free professional learning events for everyone statewide. And so many of our Count Play Explore partners actually present at these and share about new resources and how to use them in different settings. So be on the lookout for those. And then lastly, we are still fine-tuning an updated version of a cohort-style partnership, which, as in past cohorts, we will have agencies submit an application, and those who are selected will participate for a certain time frame and help us test and pilot in the field. So we'll also keep you posted on this opportunity once finalized. Real quick announcement from West Ed and from our team is we really encourage you all to complete the facilitator post survey. Everyone should have received this in their emails from, I think it's from the Count Play Explorer email address from West Ed. We can put that in the chat along with that announcement, but please make sure if you have a moment to complete that facilitator post survey. Again, thank you all so much for your partnership. It has been a pleasure getting to know you all and seeing all the work you have implemented in your communities. I really have enjoyed reading your implementation plans and talking with you during these meetings and impromptu phone calls and emails. Passing it back to Matilda.
And you know what, I lied. I apologize. I need to go to confessional. I'm just kidding. It's 11:31. I promise another 30 seconds. I would be remiss if I didn't give a special shout out to our partners, because we can't do it alone. This task of impacting math achievement is monumental, as you could imagine, and we can't do it alone here at the Office of the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. We are really thankful for our partners. So a big shout out and recognition for Dr. Paul Reimer and his team from the Ames Center for Math and Science Education, West Ed, Dr. Oznat Zur, Jennifer Marcella, I always mispronounce her last name, Sophie, Alexa, and the team of West Ed, the Early Math Project, the California Early Math Project, GLM Inc., who provides us support on our videos, and our sister department of here at the Office of the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools, the STEM department, who also partners with us. And again, all of our partners across the state that really are on the ground helping make this work come to life. So again, it's 11:32. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm just so honored to be able to work with all of you and look forward to the work to come. Back to you, Paul.
Well, with that, thank you, Matilda, Naomi, and the entire team. Thank you all for spending the time with us today and throughout this entire initiative, and for all your hard work. Carry it on forward, and we'll see you all next time. Goodbye, everyone.